What's up, guys? If you're anything like me, up until 19 years old, I could not stand reading. I strongly despised of it. However, everything changed when I dropped out of college and began to, work a full-time job here. I worked a full-time job at JD Byrider. So this was, the parking lot. I was a car detailer. Every morning I would have to come in and start the cars up to make sure they were running. And that was in the heat, the hottest of the summers, and also in the coldest of the winter. So I worked here for 9 months. The good thing about this job is that it was about 3 minutes away from where I lived at in Fairfield. So, I was in the real world, paying my own bills and had my own place. And this was at 19 years old. So I would come into the morning. I would make that route right there that you just saw. I would get right here, make a left into the gates, and I would park my car back here. My car detailer station was right here. Every morning I would walk in from there all the way in, right into here. I would put my water bottle down and go clock in. And I'd be working here from 9 to 5, all in the back lot and in the front lot. So the thing that kept me going, though, is that I would look here every time I came in and I was walking in the morning. I would look up this hill and I would say, man, I wonder what's up that hill. I wonder what is up that hill. Because right now I felt like, I literally and, metaphorically speaking, I was at the bottom of the hill. And I knew that for me, that was the bottom of life, working a 9 to 5 job that I did not like. Now, if you're working, obviously, a 9 to 5 that you like is different. But it was a 9 to 5 job that was a dead end. There was no moving up. And moving up would be, the manager of, JD Byrider. If JD Byrider detailer department, but that wasn't in my aspirations. So every morning as I'm right here, I would walk in and I'd be looking up the hill, wondering what's next for me. I was determined to make a better way of life. And my determination to make a better way of life led me into reading. And to make the most out of my current circumstances, being my body being in a physical place where I did not want to be, but my mind was free. Guys, they allowed me to listen, to have my headpods in while I was cleaning the cars. So I actually was listening to the books instead of, actually reading them in a literal sense. So that right there, I believe, is one of the biggest things that got me into reading, because I was able to listen to it and also able to listen to it in a place where I did not want to be. So I did not want to be here, and her reading was the steps to get me out of the place. Now, just to back it up a bit, one of the biggest reasons in hindsight 2020 that I did not like reading is because in school, in college, they had me reading books that had nothing to do with the real world. So nothing teaching me tangible things that I can go out and implement into the real world to better my own life. They were having us read books about, just to me, stuff that wasn't important today, things about the past and how the past was so difficult. What about instructions on how to make my life and be the constructor of my life today? So that's the biggest difference. Now, the YouTube algorithm works amazing. I tell everybody I got a degree from YouTube University. YouTube, I was listening to a bunch of, motivational things, motivational videos, and motivational speeches, quotes, all of this stuff. And one day it recommended the first book on the list, which is The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel. Guys, this book is, let me just read you the first line. The first line is, most people consider life a battle, but it is not a battle. It is a game. Oh, man. Oh, man. Guys, I get goosebumps just going back to the moment that I was at when I heard this, that, most people consider life a battle, but it is not a battle. It is a game. That right there, the whole book, just to give you the main ideas on what this book is about, it jumps right into telling us the 3 departments of the mind, right? So there's 3 different departments of the mind. It's the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious. Now, our subconscious, guys, it knows no jokes. So anything you say, your word holds power, which, brings me into the next point, guys. It talks about the power of the word, thoughts, and your imagination. The subconscious, you can joke yourself into, undesired circumstances just by joking around about, your health or your body in a negative way. So the power of the word, guys, in our thoughts, whatever we think is an actual thing. Like our thoughts are things. So that's a book as well, if you want to check it out. But our thoughts are things. And when I learned this, guys, it really transformed the way I saw the world from the standpoint of our subconscious, what we take in that we don't know that we're taking in. It knows no jokes, and it implements things exactly how we imagine them, which is why our imagination is so important. So this imagination and, you know, the power of your words, your thoughts, and the subconscious and the superconscious and the conscious mind all leads to the manifestation of the life that you ultimately want. And the author goes into great detail, and the person that's reading this book goes into great detail. They do a great job of making this book entertaining, so it's not a boring book. I was somebody that was just like you. I didn't like reading at all, and I instantly read this book, and it's about 4 hours for a listen, or about 2 to 4 hours, somewhere in there. The big thing about the book is faith is the key of obtaining anything you want. So life or the game gives us tough times to test our faith, and the universe wants us to win. So each tough time that you face is a testament of your, mind power. If you follow the channel, you know that I believe that you display your conscious level. So, that concept kind of really came in to me from this book, being able to just see how the author breaks it down and how they go into great detail. Guys, you just have to read the book for yourself. But just know, if you don't take anything away, just know that you have to have faith, even when times are, presented to you to an undesirable lens. Have faith that what you ultimately want will manifest, and it always does. It never does not. It always does. So they give you different laws of the universe. One is the law of replacement. So, you will always replace something in your life that has no place there. So, and that's, from always internally and also externally. Gosh, just go read the book right now. Read the book right now. All right. Brings us into book number 2, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I'm sure you probably heard about this book, but let's go ahead and hop into the first line so you can just get an idea on, where he's at with it. So the rich don't work for money. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich have money, work for them. So that's the main concept of this book, just from, Robert Kiyosaki. He's a billionaire, millionaire in real estate, and, a bunch of other things from online social media. And his main business, came up as far as, him being successful was through real estate, but he has a whole bunch of, revenue streams coming in now. He gives us the story of his rich dad and his poor dad. So his poor dad was an educated man. He had a degree, I believe, from Harvard or some big school, and he ended up being a teacher. So him, coming out to be a teacher, he lived in Hawaii. He was making, I believe, $300,000 to $400,000. Yet they were in debt, and they were in debt in a bad sense. They were in debt though, and they also were, struggling and living a pretty unfulfilling life, is what he observed from his poor dad. Now, his rich dad, who was his friend's dad, he lived what he saw to be a fulfilling life. So his rich dad ended up showing them the difference of, the difference of life through 2 different lenses. So you have, you can look at it through the rich dad lens or the poor dad lens. So the rich dad basically was somebody that on paper, he didn't have any qualifications that he would be a successful person. Unlike the poor dad, on paper, had degrees and masters and all this type of other accolades that's deemed not important in his actual life. But the rich dad had all of these different characteristics that made him successful. And it really was a different way of looking at the world that rich dad, Robert Kiyosaki, he shares with us. And one of those different ways is that it's not how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep. So it goes into different ways about how to keep your money, from giving us, investment tips to, CPA tax saving strategies, a whole bunch of stuff. But that is a big thing, just because the poor dad, he was making like $400,000. However, he still was struggling to pay the bills, and they lived a pretty unhappy household. While the rich dad was, he was different, but he taught them about preserving his money preserving their money and investing their money into something instead of just, keep working for their money. At an early age, he learned how to make his money work for him, which was different. So one of the ways he allowed his, money to work for him, so to speak, is by buying assets. So the big, controversy around this book when it first came out is that, Robert Kiyosaki said, your home is a liability, not an asset. Assets bring in money every month while liabilities do not. So, the idea behind that is that your home, the liabilities that you're getting is your mortgage payment and, taxes, whatever other expenses. You're not getting any, income coming in. Now, the flip side argument is that there's, equity and other things associated with it. I'm not here to argue which one or what's right, what's wrong or right. I'm just telling you that this is a great book and it's a different way of looking at the world, and he makes great sense of it. And just to, speak about how he makes sense of it is that, the home that you live in is not an asset. The home that, if you have a rental home, though, that would be an asset because then you're going to cash flow. And he's all about cash flow. You guys, another book called The Cash Flow Quadrant. But this was huge for me. Another thing that he speaks about, as far as the assets over liabilities, that whole theme right there, he speaks about how the rich let their assets pay for their toys. So, their toys being, nice cars, jewelry, vacations, all of these type of things. If you want to, get a nicer car, you should get a asset that has a cash flow. So, a cash flow coming in of, let's say, $300 a month to pay for your nicer car. So let that cash flow pay for your nicer car instead of your own income. That way you can turn your car into most of an asset, as possible. So that's just a different way of looking at the world. It's easy to get money and just be like, okay, I'm about to go spend it on, another liability versus being like, okay, let me get money, spend it on an asset, then let my asset pay for my liability. That's the biggest thing there. Let your assets pay for your liabilities. All right. A big concept that I'm working on really implementing to my life now, and I read this book, like I said, these are the 3 books that changed my life from the beginning. But a big concept that I'm working on right now implementing is don't micromanage your business. Hire experts where experts are needed. Attorneys, CPAs, whatever else, other departments. So guys, this one is a huge theme that I believe is great that I heard it, and really it actually, I was reading these books before I ever knew about wholesaling real estate. So that's what I mean as far as like, you want to get what I'm going at with all this, but your vibration level is, you start reading certain stuff, then opportunities start coming past you because you're rising your conscious level. So before I ever did any of that, I was reading this book and I was like, this makes sense. So when I came across wholesaling and I, tried to do it with me on the ground, but I knew that, long term, I wanted it to be virtual. That way I can have freedom of, time. And ultimately, I'm looking for financial freedom. So I'm not looking for another, job in a physical sense, and like everything, that a job entails. So that being said, I knew I wanted to make my business virtual. And right now where I'm at is implementing this, hiring experts where experts are needed. So maybe you in your own business right now, you probably are like me. I'm a person that, I like to control all aspects of it. So I'm like, all right, this got to be done. This got to be done. This got to be done. I think of it like that because I'm like, okay, if I don't do it, who going to do it? And I want to do it to the level that I want it done at. However, I'm starting to realize more as far as me scaling and growing my brand and growing my business that I have to rely on people and on people, definitely other professionals. So I can do all the marketing myself, but there's somebody out there that's studying marketing, that's doing everything, learning about marketing, that obsesses over marketing like how I obsess over all avenues of my business, and they are fit for the job. So it's like, okay, instead of me being so focused on that, I can hire somebody else to do it. So just because you can do it, is it really worth your time and, effort to do it there, or do it somewhere else that is more, needed? So that's the main concept there. You're not an expert in, being a CPA for a reason. Let the CPA expert handle the taxes side of things, and just take that outlook in every area of your business is the main thing there. And that's a huge concept. Guys, definitely read that book. Well, definitely listen to it. You know how we roll. All right. The third book, and I mean, all of these books are important, but I'll definitely say this one is probably tied for number one of level of importance. Guys, I'll just go ahead and read the first. You got to bear with me. I'm going to read the first few lines, and you're going to see what I mean. There are different levels of consciousness. A level of consciousness is determined by what you are thinking and feeling. Each level has a different vibration. For example, love calibrates at 500, while shame calibrates at 20. Your emotions can be measured. Whatever level of consciousness or emotion you are currently in, that vibration affects everyone and everything around you. People's subconscious know what you are feeling and thinking, meaning what you are thinking / feeling when you go somewhere affects how people will perceive you. That's why like attracts like, the vibration, the frequency. Guys, rewind that. Let that really sink in what I just said right there, guys. That is, it's a heavy load when you really understand that. So, like I said, guys, this right here is why right now in my current life, I'm the way I am. All three of these books is like why I am the way I am. Like, as far as this was like the foundation building of this stage of myself. I read a lot of books since then, and I'll sprinkle some in, but these three were the main three. Not quite the first three, but I did read The Game of Life first, and Rich Dad Poor Dad was number second, and Letting Go came, in that same time of me at JD Byrider. Guys, the level of consciousness thing is huge. He goes into several examples as far as, how do you view the poor man that's, asking for money, and, certain level of consciousness will view that poor man differently. And he explains what level of conscious views them, how they view them. So you can kind of, compare what level of consciousness that you're currently at by reading this book. He also goes into how different level of consciousness will react to somebody hitting them in the back of a car. Somebody will look at it as, I can hit a lick, insurance lick. Somebody will look at it like, this is terrible. Why would they do this to me? Or somebody will be like, I hope they are okay. Are you okay? Asking the other person. It's different levels of consciousness. Look at it differently. And it's names and descriptives of what these level of conscious levels are. It's huge. It's huge, guys. It's the reason why like attract like. It's the reason why the so-called rich get richer. It's because the level of consciousness that you are at. Once you're on that vibration frequency, certain things come to you more easily than if you were not on that vibration frequency. No different than, like I said, when I was read Letting Go, I was already doing, real estate wholesaling, and I had discovered that path. I had not got my first deal yet, but I discovered the path, and I was keeping the faith. However, it became so clear to me that I was a completely different person than I was. When I started this stuff, I was 19 years old listening to these books. And by 20 is when I, was able to quit my job and go full-time real estate investing. But at, 19 years old, me listening to this, I had so many questions. Why wasn't I not teaching? Why were my teachers teaching me these things when I was freaking in school? Why was I learning about, slavery and a whole bunch of other stuff that isn't, important to my overall future and present success? Why was I being blinded by so many other social constructs instead of them actually teaching me? And it became clear it's because this stuff is important. Guys, you came to this video, you're watching this video for a reason. You're part of the chosen few. May it be the chosen few of the world, or even the chosen few in your family. There's not a lot of people, and that, leads me to the last point of that. There wasn't anybody in my family that knew about this. So I looked at it like, man, I'm getting goosebumps right now. Like, it's like, man, I'm really chosen. I'm really chosen to be able to see this information, absorb this information. Now I know I'm even more chosen to be able to share it with you and get you guys on this wavelength so you can start vibrating on a higher frequency. And that leads me into kind of another point, guys. As we already talked about, our thoughts and emotions are bringing abundance or lack of health, emotional lack, or even, abundance of finances. It's our thoughts and emotions. It's how we think about things. It's that we have to control that negative talk, that self-doubt. Everybody has it. I have it. You have it. Everybody has it. The difference between the successful and unsuccessful is the people that are willing to control that self-talk. Be able to look, okay, I'm tripping. I'm like this. I ain't like that. That ain't me. And then you just start going into the positive side of yourself, start positive thoughts. Guys, that is the biggest difference in what I deem my life, like present day. Like, I know my foundation is these things that I was reading and instilling in myself had led me to a present day of, what I deem as success, which is me on my entrepreneurship journey. I wouldn't want to have it any other way than what it is right now. So that's success to me. So, and that's, the same can be said for you. If you wouldn't want to have it any other way than what it is right now, then you are successful as well. But this stuff, you gotta read this stuff. It's so important to know, guys. You gotta learn to live from your spirit or experience the experience, right? So, do not judge or resist any emotion you are feeling, guys. Living from the spirit. When we're living from our spirit and we're experiencing the experience, we're not judging, what we think, or judging an event that happened, or judging a fellow human being. Guys, we're all just observing. We're observing. Like, we're not this physical body. We're not even our conscious mind. Like, we are just observing what's going on here because there's bigger forces here at work. So you just have to be present and be able to accept yourself and not try to change your emotional state. That will help you with, if you're sad, right? Instead of trying not to be sad, just be sad. Because then eventually that energy will release through your body and you won't be sad anymore. They go into all of this stuff in the book. All right, so a thought is harmless unless we believe it. It isn't our thoughts. It's the attachment to our thoughts that cause the suffering. This is huge because, hearing for the first time that, my thoughts are things and there's no secrets in the universe. That's another thing. Like, there's no secrets in the universe. People pick up what you're feeling or what you're really feeling. Like, you can tell maybe watching this right now that I'm really coming from a place of urgency. Like, you need to start realizing this today, not tomorrow. Because what happens is, tomorrow becomes next year and you're looking the same, having the same path that you had last year. So implement this stuff today. I'm really talking to you from a place of urgency. You have to realize that don't change your thought or your feeling or emotional state because they come in waves, right? So we know women are in general more emotional than guys, but guys are emotional as well. So guys, the emotions going up and down, that don't get attached to it. Just be like, that's how I'm feeling right now, and it'll pass. When you have a negative thought, it goes in even to, as far as if someone cuts you off in a road, if you think man, I want to do something to that person, don't try to change that and say, no, I'm bad. Just have that thought, because when you just have the thought, then you give it less energy because there's so many thoughts that go throughout your mind. But if you try to change that thought, then you're giving so much more energy to it. Then your conscious mind becomes attracted to it. So the more focus you put on certain thoughts makes those thoughts manifest into your subconscious, and your subconscious bring that into your reality to a specific degree. That's the main concept there, guys. It's deep, I know. He gives us actionable steps to achieve the goal of life, which is to keep rising on the scale of consciousness. That's the main goal of life, to be able to go from that 20 out of shame to love. And, keep rising our frequency, keep getting a higher frequency, a higher vibration. As we rise our vibration, guys, it brings opportunities and abundance into our life easily and effortlessly. Life is no longer a battle or anything. Once you start winning the game and learning how to play the game, it's easily and effortlessly. That's all of this goes together. So this one is huge. Take this from everything. Focusing on our state of being, our consciousness, will maximize our results more than staying busy just to stay busy. Guys, the main concept there is don't get so caught up in this material world. And I'm not speaking on material world from nice things, nice cars and no, that stuff is great. It's good to, if that's what you desire, this is how you manifest it, by reading these books. I'm talking about our material world, though, from, what you're looking at. You're looking at, me, this human being. You're looking at this remote right here. You're looking at, this laptop, this desk, this mat, this wall. All of these things are the material world. Don't put too much focus on it. Don't feel like you always have to be on go in this material world. The biggest thing to focus on is your interior world. Focusing on your interior world, your state of mind, your well-being, your consciousness, that rises the level of frequency that you're on. And remember, the higher the frequency that you're on, the more opportunities and abundance of prosperity, health, wealth, finance, everything comes to you easily and effortlessly. So take time, and this is something I'll share with you guys. I meditate like 3 times daily for 10 minutes. Morning time when I wake up, afternoon time from 12 all the way to sometimes 5 p.m. And then before I go to sleep, so it's usually about 10 or 11, I do that 10 minutes, and it's a meditation slash visualization. So I just try to put my mind on the right track of things that I'm looking to attract towards me. I believe that that's huge. I feel the difference rather than when I'm, caught up sometimes in a daily cycle of life and I don't take that midday break just to be like, okay, wait, let me recenter myself. When I start recenter myself for those 10 minutes, I feel a major difference in my whole aura, my whole everything, my whole existence. So I really would recommend that for you guys to really take time to, implement maybe just, 10 minutes in the morning. Just start there, or 10 minutes before you go to sleep. Get all that negativity, cleanse your body out of that, and try the best to quiet your mind and let images of positivity just flow into your existence. It's the main thing I have for you guys. Those are the 3 books that I believe changed my life as I knew it before. Like, I'm no longer the person I was because of those 3 books. And I believe these books were the foundation of the person that I am today. And I'm reading more. I always listen to books. That's my thing. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. So, as always, get to listening. Get to stepping.